Okay. Oh, wow. That's awesome. What are some times where it might be useful for us to do? What does the CMA stand for? What? I don't know. You're helping me. Some wise ass said something. Um, when might it be a useful time to do one of these comparative market analysis? Okay, give me one. Get all right. Buyer side, seller side. What's another time? Speak. Yeah, listing appointment. I get a lot of calls from people, agents, who say, I got cut on the appraisal by $30,000. I need to fight the appraisal. What is that process? That is a reconsideration of value. How does a reconsideration of value work? Don't worry about it. It doesn't. They have. But what are the occasions where a reconsideration of value may work? Most likely, it's going to be a factual inaccuracy that you're able to highlight. But appraisers have a code of ethics that makes ours look like a pretty light suggestion. USPAP, whatever that stands for, is the appraiser code, and it's hardcore. And one of those is you can't change the value because somebody asks you to. So the time for us to influence the appraiser's opinion of value, or opinion of value being another name for an appraisal, is before they make that opinion. So I think that one of the most useful times for us to use a CMA is also heading into that appraisal process. Whether you're the listing agent who wants to make sure that a deal goes through smoothly, or a buyer's agent. We get to wear a lot of hats, and that doesn't mean that we're restricting our talents just to benefit our client. But I've done this very same appraiser packet on listing side and buyer side. And I think it's a great suggestion if you are in a situation where you want a deal to close. Anybody ever have a deal you want to close? All right. Is it an extra step and a lot of work? It can be, but have you done a market analysis to list the property? What'd you do with those comps? Do you just hit delete? You just move on to another search? Or do you throw them in a cart in Bright MLS and save them for later? Right. What if you're representing a buyer and you're writing an offer? Are you checking comps? It's not a bad idea. And throw them in a cart. So whenever it comes time for the appraisal, all you have to do, go back to your cart. You've got the comps. You print them out, and you can write notes on those comps and say, our house is superior, the subject is superior, our house is better, whatever, than this one. This one smelled like cat pee. Our house has new windows. That one had a bad roof that was replaced after closing. If you know this stuff, put it on there. Am I saying that the appraiser's gonna use your comps? No, but he knows you didn't use the WAG method when setting the price on your property. WAG being wild ass guess. That is a appraiser term. So by you leading them down your path of logic, you have a much higher rate of success. Because if you leave these poor little appraisers to wander around in the wild, they're going to grab the first comps that they see that fit the bill, right? Do they have an obligation to go out there and find the absolute best comps on the property? No. How many times have you looked at an appraisal and said, it's not wrong, but you used, okay, so they used a dated comp. So here's how appraisers work. They have comps in their system that they've already used. They're already familiar with. They've already verified. So if you have a new property shows up in their neighborhood, they go out and grab that job, they already know the comps that they are likely to use. So they just grab the ones that they already have verified, slide it into their matrix, hit the button, sausage is made, ready to go. But if you can give them a compelling reason, and I'm not saying you're doing their work for them, but you're pulling them down your path and you're helping where you're looking at, that goes a long way for them not to dismiss you as somebody who's just taking a stab at this. So a big part of that, and where I see a lot of agents go wrong, is they use comps that they've chosen by fairy tale as opposed to comps that really match. And I've got a story about that whenever we go through this. And I want to talk about not the process of doing the CMA from a MLS standpoint, but the process of choosing the right comps to get you the results that are most accurate. Okay? Any questions or pain points that you want me to drill down on before we get going? All right then. How's everybody at home doing? Can you hear me? I've had complaints about audio sucking at home. Are we okay?
Yeah,
all right.
It's perfect.
Thank you. We endeavor not to suck. Well, I'm having problems with my sharing. Give me a second here. There we go. I swear I'm not an idiot. Okay, everybody at home should be able to see that. Everybody here should be able to see that.
Justin, close, minimize your people. There you go.
Pricing a home with a CMA, the power of picking the right comparables. Okay, so we need to understand that CMA mindset. And for me and for buyers, we're trying to build a pattern, right? Buyers know the pattern. Whenever they see a house that is not worth their expectation, they know it innately, right? They know the market because as in tune as we are, they are. Now, may their calibration be off. May you show this guy 42 homes and he says, well, that's obviously not worth it. I'm not paying for that. Yeah, I have all those clients. Like they're still in, I don't know, 2019 mode. But we need to learn the 5 core points of comparison. There may be more. These are the ones I use. There may be less. I want you to build confidence in selecting your comparables, and I want you to practice interpreting the data that you're trying to get across here. So, what's the difference between an agent and appraiser, a CMA and an appraisal? You guys interpret market behavior. When you're setting a price on a house, what are you trying to figure out? What it's going to sell for? How to find the sweet spot between the highest possible amount of money in the shortest amount of marketing time. Is an appraiser concerned with any of those things? No. They're trying to figure out the most likely cost of resale of that property. That's what they're trying to figure out. Appraisers interpret historical data. Standing in this point, they look at all the homes that have sold before. We look at all the homes that have sold before, all the homes that are on the market now. I might call a pending listing agent and say, what did you get for it? And we're going to try and figure out whether the market's getting hot, getting cold, and where do we need to position it to get best results for our clients and make our life smooth. A CMA is a probable sale price, not a certified value. And our goal is to price to attract buyers and to drive offers most of the time. Do we have clients that don't allow us to live our full destiny by doing that? Yeah. Right. They want us to price it more. I'm not going to give it away. I know what I got. Okay. If you want to challenge the market, I'm your guy. That's a greater than sign, not an arrow. The right comps are better every time than complex adjustments, right? So if we find a okay comp, and I've seen plenty of agents do this. I may have been a victim. I may have done it myself in the beginning, but I've gone past it by asking questions like, well, what do you adjust for hardwood floors? What do you adjust for an extra bathroom? What do you adjust for an extra garage? What do you adjust for an extra bedroom? And towards the end, the numbers don't have any root in foundation in reality, because you've out adjusted the thing. And you might have said, well, this thing's worth $600,000 when you started out with something that's, worth $3.25. So my approach is to choose the right comps, making very minimal adjustments, if any. So and I also believe in choosing, on one hand, quality over quantity, but also I want to see a pattern of properties that ours fits neatly into. It just makes sense. That's what we're shooting for. And I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about there. When it comes to property type, we want to match like to like. We want to avoid mixing those fundamentally different property types. What am I talking about here? Ranch to ranch. What are we avoiding matching the ranch with? Cape Cod. We're trying to avoid the colonial. I will mix a bi-level and a split level if I have to, because they're both funky and people lose square feet on them and they count them wrong all the time. I will match them up. I would sometimes take a raised ranch as a comp for a ranch with a finished basement, right? Maybe a raised ranch, you don't see those too often, but a raised ranch with a bi-level. But avoid mixing fundamentally different property types. But you can also have other property types. We've got a historical, farmhouse, Queen Anne Victorian. Are we going to match that with something like a Craftsman Cape Cod? Please no. Style trends. So here's why the age of the home matters. Get in your mind a picture of a 1965 rancher. What's the layout? One long hallway, bedroom on the left, bathroom on the right, bedroom on the left, bedroom on the right. you know, you pretty much know where the bathroom is.
Maybe a linen closet in the
Maybe a
hallway.
linen closet at the end of the hall. You're walking into a living room, probably a kitchen beyond that, maybe a kitchen dining room combo. You know what that layout is. Are you going to compare that to a 2004 ranch house? Yes, they're both ranch houses. Yes, they may have the same square footage, but what are some of the hallmarks of a early 2000s ranch house? Open, open floor plan. You might have a bedroom on one side and a bedroom on the other. Vaulted ceiling, no walls. In showing my father-in-law a house to buy, he was like, I can't stand it. It's open. I need a place to hide. I want a 1965 ranch house. Okay. But those style trends and buyer preferences vary by era, right? In the 2005 ranch house, the hallways are 42 inches wide. In the 1965, the hallways are 32, right? They're dark. Nothing against them. That's what was done and what was going on in that time. Why were they constructed that way? There was the cost of construction. There was energy crisis. We had the all-electric home from PPL, which gave incentives for little teeny tiny windows and baseboard heat. And that's what they built because buyers were getting incentives to do that, and they had certified PPL homes. Construction practices and building codes changed. Anybody familiar with building codes? And how they have evolved over time? What about construction practices? Yeah. Like you're building a house today. What's the foundation made of? Poured cement, poured concrete, monolithic pour. What was it in 1965? Block, a stone sponge. A stone sponge. So the flow and the layout matters for that house based on age. The life cycle of those components. So if we have a house, what's today's date? 26. So if you have a house that's built in 2000, all original, one owner, what do we need to be worried about? Everything, right? Now, maybe if we had one that was built in 1990, everything was just replaced. You know, if we had something that was built in 2010, we're at our half-life on some stuff's on borrowed time. I'd like to try and stick with my comps in about a 15-year window if possible. But when I'm searching, I always cast a broad net and then narrow it down. I want to make sure I'm starting with, you know, if possible, starting with 25 and then getting it down to something where I can pick the best ones out of that 25. Now, there's other much larger time frames like when was knob and tube? When did they stop using that? Alexa, what? 1920s, 30s. So if I'm dealing with a 1800s house, I might go up to 1925. Or I might start with 1925 and move up. Or I might stop if I'm doing a house. I'm going on a listing appointment after this. Property was built in 1994. So I'm going to start in 1975 and go up to about 2010. Anything after 2010 is just, it's much newer. It's a different layout, different flow entirely. So I try and chunk stuff like that. Do what makes sense. And it's not, you know, this is as much art as it is science. You know that. So you want to focus on the finished above grade living area. Why is that? Because everything else is just finished space and a hole in the ground. Unless it has a walkout, it's very sunny. Are there nice finished basements? Absolutely. Does it contribute value? Absolutely. Is it count the same as your above grade square footage? No. I, I'm kind of, I learned a hard lesson. I listed a really nice place in a really nice neighborhood, and I overshot the value. It was a 3-story house, and I counted the 3rd-story square footage the same as the main 1 and 2. And I found out did not value that at the same rate because of those extra 17 steps. They were treating it as bonus space, just like the basement. So it was a little bit less. Consider your bed and bath counts and the functional space. So this is kind of a question for you guys. Yo, what's up? You made these improvements? Did you enjoy them? That's fantastic. Unfortunately, we don't get a 1-to-1 return on that. There's absolute value there, especially for families like yours who enjoy this. What'd you use the room for? Yeah. It'll be great for that. The kids. Right. It makes it the shiny penny. It sticks out in the pile. Um, you know, quality of improvements are absolutely, super important there. And it counts to overall condition of the house, right? Like super awesome hardscaping. How do you adjust for that? I crank up the condition a little bit. Same as a swimming pool. How do you value a swimming pool? What's a swimming pool worth? It depends. Is it March or December? Or is it July or December? So condition versus age. Is an important consideration. You've got 3 houses in a row, all built by the same builder in 1925. One owned by the same family. Kids inherited it. They stayed, lived, and died there. Right? This person lived in that house for 90 years. Nothing was touched. They still have the little turn thing on a kind of braided line in the middle of the room. There's one electric receptacle on each wall, and none of them are grounded. The next house in the line, the homeowner was super motivated to improve their home, and they made homeowner improvements. For those at home, those are air quotes around the improvements. So the quality of the renovations were poor. Bad countertops, sloppy wiring, holes patched haphazardly. You getting the picture? And then the third one, updated by professionals, looks really good. They're all the same age. And you've got 3 different pictures of condition and 3 absolutely different values on those properties, right? So age isn't everything. And then vice versa, we've got, the 3rd house, which was super well improved. 3 blocks over, they built a new house. This is a 1925 in very nice condition. There was a house built in 2015 in very nice condition, but it's all new. The condition is similar, but the age is vastly different. How do we treat that? That's a tough question. You wouldn't use it, but it goes to demonstrate that condition and age are totally separate. I mean, check out the updates, check out the renovations, but most importantly, check out the deferred maintenance. I think that that's a huge one to take into account. So when choosing your comps, the neighborhood is important, right? I'm doing my listing presentation this afternoon. I'm going to secure this listing. It is in Enola. That is East Pennsboro Schools. There are also Camp Hill addresses in East Pennsboro Schools, which are much preferable to the Enola addresses because they are Camp Hill versus Enola. The only difference is the name, right? But what would a consumer consider? I tended towards those Enola addresses, even though they're the same schools, over the Camp Hill addresses, because that's what a consumer would consider. A neighborhood is defined as similar homes, businesses, and schools. That may be broken down based on the township, based on the school district, or based on the zip code. We're talking about street types and external factors like, is this house on a nice, quiet, tree-lined little street? Or is it on 11 and 15? I don't know where you are in the mid-state, but you know 11 and 15 is a disaster. And your house is going to be dirty because of the traffic dirt. And then natural barriers. A lot of our neighborhoods are defined like between the river and the highway, or between the river and the mountain, as much as we have mountains, or between the highway and the orchard. Depending on where your neighborhoods are, those natural barriers are going to differ. So in Adams County, you've got the orchard side and you've got Gettysburg. Those are different neighborhoods because of how things are divided. So when I'm selecting the comps, I'm going big universe, grabbing big wide stuff. I want all of the options. As I say with any issue, I want to go one step deeper than I need to so I understand everything. I'm probably going to pull comps that I'm going to do my search based on whatever criteria I decide. 15 to 20% on either side of the square footage. 15 to 20 years on either side of the year of construction, maybe more. Do I have an idea of the cost of the house? I don't know, somewhere between 275 and 4.25. I feel like it's going to be in the 300s. So I'll go 275 to 3.25 or 4.25. I'm going big. I want to see what the differences are and what makes this home sell for that much more than this home. Yeah. Does it, all right, at home, the question is, does it make sense to do a CMA and an appraisal? And does it make sense to do one before the other? If I'm doing a CMA and I can't make heads or tails of it, now I want somebody else to take the fall for the listing price. Now I'm recommending the appraisal. And there's other reasons and times. Just let me think about that one some more. But now that I've got this huge collection of way too many comps, I'm going to start to prioritize. I'm going to look at recently closed ones because I started searching with 365 or 400 days. If there's not a lot of comps and I want to understand what this unique street might possibly sell for, I might just do a search on that street back for 3 years to see what the pattern of sales is. I know that's not going to have any bearing on an appraisal or a sale today, but it shows me patterns. I'm going to prioritize the recent ones. 3 to 6 months might be a little close, might verge out to the 9-month range, but that's what your appraisers are going to be focusing on, is that 6 to 9 months. Use active and pendings as competition, because you want to know what you're up against. Did you ever have a listing that sat like a dog on the market and it didn't sell until the competition went under contract, and now it's like somebody pulled a bus up front and you've got all these showings? It's because the competition sold and you're next. That happens. So you need to look at those actives and pendings to see what's going on out there. And maybe call that listing agent to see, hey, what was your experience? What was the feedback? Did you have a lot of traffic? Did it sell for more than asking? Can I ask you that? Did it sell for less? Then I'm checking my range. Is there one that's super low and one that's super high? I'm eliminating the outliers. Like, why did this one sell for $120 a square foot when everything else is selling for $205? And why did this one sell for $275 a square foot when everybody else sold for $205? Get rid of the ones that don't help form a pattern. We don't want to try and set a price based on oddballs. And then choose your best, say 3 or 7 high quality comps. 7's too much. I'd rather have more than 3. So somewhere in there. And your situation is going to dictate what you have to work with. Appraisers do this next step too. If the comps are few, you can expand your search. And how do you expand it? You can go out in time or area and rework the process. The more unique the property is, the further out they're going to go in time and space. Because the neighborhood of people that are going to be drawn to that unique property may have grown. I sold a property in Carlisle. It was 4,500 square foot townhouse built in 1830. And they pulled comps from Chambersburg and Gettysburg because there weren't any others like that. So the more unique, the further out they got to go. Margaret? Margaret asked if there's a maximum area that appraisers like to stay under, like a 10-mile radius. Again, it depends. If you're doing a farm, right, they're going to go out 20 miles. But that has to do with the neighborhood selection. What would a buyer consider? If it's a rural location, 10 miles is nothing. If you're doing a downtown historic property, or not even like super historic, say a 1925 Cape Cod, Craftsman, they're not going to go 10 miles for that because you're probably in a different town. But yeah,
The in-law, they're very properly going out. I can't find anything.
So a question from the audience here for you at home: is it okay to go out, cross municipality lines and stuff for a 5-acre horse farm with in-laws quarters and all that jazz? Try to stay within the same. They usually stick within the same county. If you can stay nothing in years and years, where is it? Oh, you're screwed. No, I just don't list anything in Dalmatia or Chambersburg. I can help you with that, but we have to sometimes get creative. If you go, and I do this a lot of times, whenever I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything, I'll search by township. I'll search by school district. I'll search by radius, and I'll search by type. And sometimes, oh, I missed that one. And I'll throw it in the cart for later and throw it in. And then I'm taking multiple approaches to see it. Maybe I'll search by street. And, I found this one. It's a little bit outside of my time frame because it sold 11 months ago or 12 months ago, but it's right next door to this house and it's almost a carbon copy. I'm going to use that. Or maybe it's a carbon copy that's a little bit outside of my distance. There's no real rigid rule there. It's best fit. You're doing the best you can, and appraisers are too. So if you find them something, or if you find your clients something that makes sense, go with it. Pat.
Now you've got pretty good comps. So now, do you have to go back like to the alter? Just for this sort of thing?
So the question at home is, if we have comps that are far away from one another, do we adjust for time or do we adjust for school district? You may. You may. Like if I have something that's, this house is ideal, but it's in a area that I know is not bringing the prices where the subject is, I may make an adjustment on that. However, I try not to get lost in the weeds. What's that one thing they say in real estate? Location, location, location. If we can find comps in our neighborhood, that's what we should go with. Everything else is kind of a fallback plan, and we do the best we can. That's right. Kristen. Sure. And York County is like 3 different countries. Or if you can define the neighborhood, if you have something unique, yes, you can break those county lines. West Shore School District is in 2 counties. Like you may have to do that. Dillsburg's in 2 counties, but there's a difference between Dillsburg, Cumberland County and Dillsburg, York County. Find something that makes sense. I don't want to speak. I don't want to be too specific on hypotheticals. Find a neighborhood that makes sense. What would your consumer consider? What would the buyer think makes sense? That's the thing that's important. Tavia.
So what happens if you have like this perfect house in literally the fine line of what will be the market? So I had a house in Dublin, right on the inside line of Dublin. I went that area to comp it out, right? Because if somebody's looking in that school district, that's where they want to be in, they're not going to Maryville. Well, when the appraiser came in, you put a pinpoint, but 5 miles out, what happened? Cross the river.
So
There's no way I
the
would have.
the question at home is, would you, if you have a property on the edge of a municipal or school boundary, do you take all your comps from that municipal school boundary? Like I said, I would check the school district, I would check the township, I would check the 5 mile radius. And if something makes sense, I'll use it. One of the important things that we should do though is bracketing. So I don't even know if I talk about bracketing in here. I have to check my slides. But again, with the pattern making, we've got one that's clearly worse than your property, Mr. Seller. it smells funny. And then this one is clearly superior to yours. No shade on your house, but this one's got new windows, new roof, new HVAC, new hardwood floors. I think we can all consider that this one would be superior. So if that one sold at 325 and this one sold at 375, I think that reasonable people would agree that our price range is somewhere between that 325 and 375. Does that make sense? Yes. So I bracket a lot, especially on the hard ones. If I can't find a direct comp to set beside it, I'll find one above and below it, slide it in there. And that's okay, because that's what appraisers do on the regular. And take multiple approaches. Don't just check the backup camera, look in the rearview mirror too. Just look at everything you can to get the whole picture. Right?
Instead of the appraiser.
Right. So you liked your comp better because it was a better fit. It was true to the property, but it was over a school district line, over a municipal line. You know, it's the appraiser's prerogative. And if we leave them alone in the wilderness to wander along alone, they're just going to grasp the thing that makes sense to them first. And he still didn't take it. Did you get value or no? It is an opinion of value after all. So yes, go for a local appraiser every time. And we'll talk about that. List prices, they're useful for active, sold, and pending comps. Sale prices are important because they show trends in list to sale ratio. If we find ourselves in a cool market, I would say, look at the list price that got the job done. That's important. If we're in a hot market, look also at those sale prices to see how far it may go. I still believe in pricing things according to the comps and not pricing according to hope. Cost per square foot. Does anybody here look at cost per square foot on a regular basis? Is that the only rule? No. Is it a good catch? A good double check? Yeah. You know, if something's like totally out of whack, $300 a square foot, does it have a lot of land with it? Or is it new construction by some fancy builder? Although 300 is not that expensive anymore. It's a useful tool for normalizing values across similar properties, right? You're trying to set that pattern and weed out things that don't fit within the pattern. And that I use cost per square foot a lot. I choose the comps that help to set a pattern or demonstrate a pattern. And I eliminate differences in location, condition, and amenities as much as possible. So, see guys? On interpreting the CMA, I look at the range. So if I'm going on a listing presentation where I need to close this today, I'm going to choose my comps and I'm going to have an idea going in there from a low, middle, or high end of the range. And whenever I get into the property, I'm looking at my low, middle, high and setting it based on that. Are we at the high end of the condition in here? Yeah, this is great. I'm going to go towards the high end of that range. This place smells funny. It's at the low end of the range. Or if it's average, we're going to take something in the middle. I put more weight on the comps that are more similar. I avoid over-reliance on adjustments. Because is a buyer walking in, are they making dollar for dollar adjustments on hardwood floors or gold-plated toilets? No. I'm eliminating the outliers because sometimes people sell properties under duress. Or it just smells funny. Check your average and median. If you want to know if your pattern's tight, and I'll show you one of my favorite layouts in the MLS, even though I swear I'm not getting into the mechanics of the MLS today for this. If I look at my average cost per square foot and my median cost per square foot, my average home price and my median sale price, and they're very tightly grouped, it tells me I have a really good sample. I have a really good pattern that doesn't have a lot of variation, and I should be okay on my pricing. Although I'm traditionally pretty conservative on my pricing. And then that is what that, you can see how tight your sample set is. How far should they be apart? If I'm looking at a property and I end up pricing it at 350, I don't want to be using comps that are 300 and 400. That's too far of a window for my preference. These are super important because you can show these to your clients and help them to understand what you're doing for them and what they need to do. Show them the data visually. Show them the maps. Show them the photos. Show them the charts. Some people resonate with feelings. Some people resonate with numbers. You don't know who you're dealing with a lot of times, so just show it to them, and if they gloss over, skip past that part. Whenever I send out a CMA to somebody, if I'm not using one of the fancy programs, then I send them my CMA, and then I send them a link to all the properties that I used in that CMA so they can click through the photos and see what we're looking at. Because without that, they just tell you you're wrong. Set realistic expectations. Here is the results of my research and my experience in this market. I think that the most likely price at sale for your property is going to be in this range, and I think that you should list it in this range. You may, if you get the right buyers, sell for more than that. But if you price too high, you're going to scare away the opportunity for multiple offers. And now you're negotiating one-on-one with people. And that's kind of how my discussion goes when I discuss my risks of overpricing, et cetera. And it's not only what we can get on paper, it's also what we can get past the appraiser. The appraiser is going to be looking at the same information that I did today. Here's the comps. Here's the evidence that I need. I'm trying to build a court case for you to get to the closing table with as few problems as possible. I'm sell for more. This is what I can prove. And if I would rather list it at this price and have a buyer make you an offer over that, because at that point, if they overbid, it's on them. But if we price it high and it doesn't appraise, that's on us. So when we get offers, I'm going to really push hard for appraisal gaps. I'm going to push for the strongest offer to make sure that not only do we get it on paper, but we also get it to the closing table. So those are some of the discussions that we can have around a well-done CMA. So here is an example that I'm going to show you in real life what happened with some stuff out in the world. I just have to go back and find the stuff. 21 Charles Street, Carlisle. If you know Carlisle or any small town in central Pennsylvania, you know there's a downtown area. There's a couple of busy streets that come in and out of it, and then those busy streets go and connect to other local towns. That's what this is here. Charles Street sits on the corner of North Hanover Street, which is super busy in downtown Carlisle, connecting to the Carlisle Pike, which takes you out to the Interstate 81 interchange and the Pennsylvania Turnpike. So you know from that description, there's a couple times a day that there's a load of traffic and a bunch of other stuff. You know, it's just noisy, and this neighborhood is zoned, it's like neighborhood commercial, okay? So you don't know exactly. Somebody might put in a jewelry store or a chiropractor next door. It's not zoning protected to keep this as a neighborhood. Properties listed for 4.25, 4-bedroom, 2-bed, 2-bath, 2,149 square feet. It was cute, but the flow was off because of, you can see here, we've got a original brick Cape Cod craftsman type shed dormer. So upstairs you had the funky shaped roof line, ceilings. Rooms were small. There's one central bathroom upstairs which served the original 3 bedrooms. There's another full bathroom in the basement and a couple of other half baths tucked in around this place. And you can see here, there's an addition, and there's an addition, and this addition connects the garage to the house through this other addition. It didn't flow great, all right? But it was nice. It was clean. It was updated. The finishes were nice. And my folks had been searching for a long time. I tried to refer them out to another agent. That didn't work. They wanted to work with me, so I ended up picking them back up. We worked together for a long time. And they wanted to buy this house. They were past clients. He was a political guy, he had a lot of connections. I really didn't want to, I just liked him. I didn't want to screw him over. I ran the comps on it. And I said, Rick, Marge, I can't get over 375 on this house. I really can't. And they're like, all right, let's write it up. Let's do it. I called the listing agent and I said, my folks really like this house. They want to buy it, but I just can't get past 375. Can you help me out? Can you send me the comps that you used? I'm afraid I'm missing something. Do you have any comps? Yeah, absolutely. I actually talked to my team leader and we've got great comps for you. We had this thing listed at 450. I can't believe it didn't sell at 450. I've got comps all day long at 4.25. Okay. Send them to me. On paper, this is a great fit. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, or 2 baths and a half. Ours is 2 baths and 2 full and 2 half. It's practically the same square footage at 2,700 square feet. It's in the same town, and it's $440,000. What's wrong with it? Right. So what do we know? Right. What do we know about a property that was built in 91 versus 1930 with 2 additions to get the garage attached to the house? So yes, they both have attached garages, right? However, is there a difference? This was the comp that they supplied to me. And I said, yeah, I don't know. Let's look at the next one. This was the other comp they gave me. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. So the total number of baths works. The total number of bedrooms works. Ours actually has bigger square footage, and this one sold for $465. Why doesn't it work? It was also 50 years newer, 60 years newer, far away from the main drag,
Opposites,
in
opposites of town.
a, right?
Opposites.
Total opposite ends of town. All of the all of the rooms that are in this home were in the original footprint of the home. I couldn't use any of them. And this was the best comps that they could come up with. So here's my comps. This is 653 North Hanover Street, which is, I don't know, 0.2 of a mile away from the subject property. Yes, it's a little bit smaller, but it was built in 1929. It's got the same character, also a Cape Cod. It's got the same funny shaped rooms in it. It's got the same weird smelling basement, right? As opposed to the basement on these new ones, which is most likely poured cement. We've got closer in square footage, similar beds. It's shy a couple of half baths, but it's got that same kind of weird flow thing going. I think that this is closer. Also a Cape Cod-ish thing. Oh, here we go. 3 beds, 2 baths. We're shy on the beds and the baths. We're shy on the square footage, but it tells a story. Now we've got 1,988 square feet, 4 beds, 3 baths. I threw this in there because I was really trying to help them out. It was built in 98. It's much newer than I would typically look for, but I was stretching. It's a Cape Cod. I don't necessarily like the neighborhood that it's in. Like I said, I was stretching to try and help them out. And this was a freaking stretch. I think this is way too much. And I would eliminate this comp personally. I would not use this one. Likewise, I was really trying to help them out. I looked at this one. This is 435. It's a Cape Cod, 3 bed, 2.5 bath. I can't use this one either. I can't turn this since I'm sharing and stuff. But that is the tale of 2 different sets of comps. I think that this one tells the tale all day long. These 3 are much doable and much better. Is the square footage off a little bit? Yes, but we can adjust for the square footage. I mean, it's 2149. They were sending me comps that were 2,700 square feet. This one's 2337 and 1924. That brackets our size. This one's got 4 beds and 2 baths. This one's got 4 beds and 2 baths. This one's got 3 and 2. What do I adjust for a half bath? If that's the only difference, if I've got it down to a half bath here and there, throw five grand at it, throw 7 grand at it. I mean, if you've already got 3 bathrooms, what are you going to do with an extra one? How much utility does it offer? So those are, that's my story when it comes to choosing comps. So tools that I use on the regular are those bright comps, or I'm sorry, the bright carts. I use those carts all the time. If there's a property I think I'm going to work on, a property I have worked on, you know, part of my spring cleaning is going through and getting rid of the 40 carts that I have set up over the previous year. Yeah. Yeah. And I use the results statistics report when you go down into actions in the bottom of your bright control panel there, and go to statistics. It's a great, easy pattern finder that'll show you those result statistics. And don't go, the more adjustments you make on these comps, the quicker you're going to lose your clients, right? Show them things, broad strokes that they can understand. And those comp choices, they drive your CMA quality. We're looking for a pattern that fits and makes sense to people. If you show them a stack of comps, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you give them a printout of theirs, where does it fit into that stack? If it fits on top of the stack, that's going to be a hard one. If it fits below that stack where you can't fit it in that pattern, it's not going to fit well. Keep the CMA client friendly and keep them updated. You can go in and you can add new stuff to your cart all the time, including pending ones that update. And that's what I've got for CMAs. Was that helpful? Do you have any questions? Well, I nailed it then. All right. Oh, and then just print out your comps, throw it in an envelope, and put it in the listing. Yeah.
A new water heater in the last week and you did anything. Is that what you favored?
Oh, absolutely. Any updates that have been made to the property? Can we raise the price when a new water heater goes in? No, that's handling maintenance. But I do throw it in there to try and influence the appraiser.
The new appraisal.
Yes. And in fact, we talked about that here a couple weeks so the question here is, what are we doing to be proactive about the new appraisal programming? First of all, no local appraisers are using it yet. Everybody's holding out hope that it's going to be continued. It's supposed to be November. It's supposed to go into effect. What I want is a printout of what all the categories are and what the options within those categories are, so that we can kind of train to the test. And the challenging part about the new appraisal platform is appraisers have to make a distinction. They can't guess. Or they can guess though, and you don't want an appraiser guessing. If there's information for one of those categories that you can provide to take away risk, that's what I want you to do. Whether that's have out that roofer to give you an estimate on the roof life, have out a plumber to say when these appliances were installed, you know, those are things that we should be practicing for, but it isn't in practice yet, so I can't really train for the test.
And we have some local appraisers that are willing to come in and do hands-on trainings. However, they do not want to come in to train us until they themselves have gone through training.
Right. Taibbi's supposed to be coming in
Yep.
probably January, February,
Yep.
after these things happen.
Yep.
So, all right, everybody, I appreciate you being around. If you have any questions, hit me up. Thank you very much and have a great rest of your day.